Hello and welcome to Hop Along Studio. So today I want to talk with you about living fearlessly with COVID-19. I know there's been a lot of talk about COVID-19, about what to do, things that you should be doing about it. And I know I've been getting a lot of emails about the subject, but I wanted to try to look at this in a slightly different way. Instead of looking at the fear around COVID-19, I want to talk about how we can move past the fear and live in a way that we can see this as a time of opportunity instead of just a fearful time. I know there's been a lot of conversation about like financially, what this means for businesses. Like it's not an easy time. I don't want to make light of that. But at the same time, I do believe that there is hope and there are ways that we can find joy during this time. There was a period in my life where fear was running a lot of my life. I had fallen into a place of victimhood, and it was pretty much fear was how I viewed the world. So instead of seeing the joy in things, I just saw what could go wrong. And I think it's very easy for us to look at all the negative things and all these things that aren't going our way, that are not in our control. And instead of seeing it as, yeah, it's not a great situation, we can choose to hold on to that fear, or we can choose a different path. So moving past fear-based living isn't always an easy thing. I know for myself, the big key for me was learning how to surrender. Surrender is not an easy thing. It's saying, you know what, I have no control, and I'm choosing that I'm not going to hold on to things tightly, but I'm just going to open my hands and release these feelings of control and instead just accept what is. And that is a hard thing. I know for myself, that is always a constant struggle. Sometimes to say, okay, I'm going to surrender this, and by the time I've walked into the next room, I've already taken it back. And I think it's really important that during this time, instead of focusing on the things that we cannot control, instead of realizing, yes, we don't have control, but we do control our attitudes. We do have a choice in our reaction to that. And that alone can be a really great thing, and I can provide inspiration to others. And I know for myself, my faith in God is one thing that puts me in a place where I do need to generally surrender. But also with that surrender, I understand that I have a Father in heaven that loves me, that is taking care of me, and that He already knows how all of this is going to end up. So instead of living in fear, I can live in a place of faith where I'm not going to try to control. Instead, I'm going to surrender. I'm going to try to live authentically, and I'm going to try to react well to others around me. So with the fear around COVID-19, does that mean we just don't feel anything? I don't think that's the case. I have to say that every time I see a newscast, I do feel that fear welling up. I found this week extremely exhausting, actually, just because of the amount of conversations even I've had catching up with people that have been about the virus. And that's not an easy thing. It's one of those things where is the right reaction to it? I know for myself, I do worry about my friends. I do worry about my family, but at the same time, I also need to, again, work through that surrender, to let it go. I think we need to take precautions. I think we need to do the social distancing. There are things that we can do to prevent other people from getting sick. My biggest concern actually is not myself. My immune system's pretty good. I'm in that age group where I should be able to go through it probably without any real issues. But I do worry about the people groups that have a more weak immune system or more elderly in age that can be affected by that. And my concern is that I act in a socially responsible way so that I don't end up hurting somebody else inadvertently. So earlier this week, a friend of mine posted a quote by Martin Luther. Martin Luther was around during the bubonic plague, also known as the Black Plague, where 30 to 60% of people who contracted it died. And so when you deal with a sickness that was that fatal, he was living in it. And he actually had a really interesting quote about how his reaction to it was. And I'll read to you now. It says, "I shall ask God mercifully to protect us. Then I shall fumigate, help purify the air, administer medicine, and take it. I shall avoid places and persons where my presence is not needed in order not to become contaminated and thus perchance inflict and pollute others, and so cause their death as a result of my negligence. If my neighbor needs me, however, I will not avoid a place or a person, but will go freely as stated above. See, this is a God-fearing faith, because it is neither brash nor foolhardy, and does not tempt God." And that's from Luther's Works, volume 43, page 132. And I found that really interesting. Again, it's the idea of taking precautions, but not forgetting that we need to reach out, that we need to love on each other and to be in a place where we can show kindness to others. I think one of the wonderful things about being in a situation where we have to be inside and maybe a little bit more alone than we usually are is that it gives us time to evaluate. I've gone through a period of my life the last few years where I've had to do some pretty serious evaluation of what I wanted from my life. I had to take a look at some of my relationships. I had to look at my work. I had to look at a lot of things and really ask myself some really pointed questions about what I wanted in my life. If I was living the life I was truly proud of, was I living in a way that was authentic to me and that I could be joyful and reach out and love others? Was I in the right path of the direction of my life? Evaluation's challenging. For me, my evaluation came from the death of somebody that I knew. I wasn't close to her, but her death rattled me in a way that nothing else really has. I still think of it and sometimes it makes me cry because it was one of those moments that I had to ask myself, what in the world are you doing? And it wasn't that my life was bad or that I wasn't living in a great way, but it was more like, where is my focus and what do I want from this life? And it's so easy to be distracted by success and wealth and what you should do and what society demands of you, instead of asking yourself the question of, well, is this actually right for me? Is this the life I want? Is this the relationships that I want? Am I in a healthy place? And that's a really challenging thing, but I think with it comes some real freedom. And taking that time to evaluate, to make some of these decisions, to start thinking about what we really want from life is incredibly important. So what do we do when we have all this time at home? I think it's a great time to start building a self-care habit. Building a self-care habit is really important. It can be something as simple as having 15 minutes for yourself sometime during the day. It can be going for a walk. It can be doing some sort of creative self-care. I'm working a lot more on trying to do simple sketches and doing small projects that don't require a lot of time. If you check my previous articles and my previous videos, I actually have some Creative Foundations videos that were supposed to be very basic techniques that you can do in a very short period of time that can help you build your skills towards a creative habit. I think it's one of those things that if we can make these habits important during this time in our lives, when things start speeding up, we may find that we really enjoy the quiet that these self-care habits bring, the renewal and the restoration that comes with it. That might be something that we want to try to continue on with. I do believe that everyone should have a good self-care habit. And so I hope that as you look through my website and as you look through my YouTube videos, you'll be able to find something that can help you. And if you need any help building a self-care habit or any ideas, more ideas on the art techniques I have, just feel free to contact me directly or comment below. I am more than willing to come and try to provide you a little bit more guidance as you're trying to figure out some of these creative foundations and these creative things for your own personal life. I hope that you have enjoyed this video and that gives you some ideas of how you can make this time during COVID-19 not to be fear-filled, but that you can live fearlessly and enjoy this time for the benefits it can bring to our lives. If you have enjoyed this video, I'd appreciate it if you'd like it, subscribe to my channel, and perhaps comment below. If you could put a little click on the little bell notification so you don't miss any further videos, I'd appreciate it. I'd love to be able to share more of this content with you. And please let me know if there's something you would like to learn or if there's something you'd like me to talk about. I'd be more than willing to create a video just for you. I hope that you have a great week and I will see you next time.